Good evening, everybody. Thanks for listening to our video tonight. Welcome to our Speaking to Spirit series, and tonight we have a very special individual coming through for you. We will be speaking with St. Peter, the disciple who was very close to Jesus when he walked the earth. We've been talking with him and he is ready to answer our questions. So with that, why don't we get started?
Peter, do you have a message for us?
Yes. I want to thank you for the opportunity to once again come through and speak to all of you people. The current times are very dangerous for humans. You have much going on that has the capability of ending your evolution as you know it. Satan has been very busy, especially in your government. And all of you need to take an interest and pay attention to what is happening around you. We are trying to influence from over here, but there's only so much we can do. You humans have got to take control of your destiny and drive Satan from your government and from your everyday lives. When our Lord walked the earth, he spoke very simple messages of love. Those messages are being totally ignored by those in your government today. You must renew your faith, you must renew your love for God, and you must carry that love forward to others. If you do that, much will change and things will improve. So with that, I'm ready to answer some questions for you.
Okay, are you a member of the soul family of Jesus?
Of course. I have served God in many ways. I have done it on other planets, and I have served him for literally thousands of lifetimes. But I am a member of the highest realm, just as Barry and Connie are when they are on the other side.
What was your occupation before you met Jesus?
Before I met Jesus, I was a fisherman and I was also did carpentry work. In those days, we did what we could to make a living.
Could you tell us how you met Jesus?
Andrew and I were actually fishing, and we were on shore with our catch, and Jesus came around and spoke, and Andrew introduced him to me. It was a wonderful time. I looked into his eyes and I knew right away that he was a very special person, and that I wanted to follow him.
How did Andrew get to know Jesus?
Andrew was a friend of John the Baptist, and he had listened to John speaking, and John had forecast that the Messiah would be coming. So Andrew was already a believer in the one God through John, and he introduced me to John and to Jesus as well.
How old were you when you met Jesus?
When I met Jesus, I was around 24 years old. Keep in mind that we were, in those days, we were not sure exactly how old we were because we did not keep detailed calendars.
Interesting point. Were you married at that time?
Yes, I was married, and we wound up having 4 children.
Were you the apostle closest to Jesus?
Jesus trusted me. There were other apostles that were very close to him as well. Mary was very close to him. Andrew was close. Actually, there were many that had a good relationship with our Lord. He trusted me greatly, and I was probably the closest to him.
Could you tell us about some of the other disciples and their relationship with Jesus?
Well, Mary had a very special relationship with Jesus. I think he tried to protect her from the other men, but She had been saved through a miracle. When Jesus met her, she was sick with epilepsy. He performed a miracle and saved her. She actually was from a wealthy family and helped fund our movement. Andrew, my brother, was very close because he was the very first of his followers. There were many others that were close to him as well.
Did you trust Judas?
Yes, we all trusted Judas. He was actually acted as treasurer for us, and he would oversee where the funds were being applied. We were all very shocked when we learned that he was the one that betrayed our Lord.
What was your personal opinion of Mary Magdalene?
Sometimes I hate to say this, but I was a little bit jealous of Mary because of her closeness to our Lord. As I said earlier, he would try to protect her, being a woman from a society that was basically run by men. But she was a wonderful person. She is still serving him on this side. I see her over here, and we do spend much time together on his missions and trying to influence you humans.
How would you describe your relationship with Paul?
Paul and I had not the best relationship. We found when Paul first came to us, we found it very hard to trust him because he had indeed been a Pharisee and was in charge of actually persecuting Christians. As time went on, we did learn to trust Paul, but we had differences of opinion in who we should try to convert, whether it would be the Jews or whether it would be people that were not members of the Jewish faith, or the Romans who had many gods. In those days, we were very uncertain about how to proceed, especially after our Lord left us.
What is the most important thing that you would tell us about Jesus?
The most important thing was the amazing love that he had for us and everyone. When you looked in his eyes, you could just feel the love. I never heard him say a nasty word to any of us. While he would correct us, he would always do it gently. He spoke of love, and we tried to pass on that love to others. The only time I ever saw him angry was when he entered the temple on his final days.
Did Jesus tell you he was married?
He did tell me that he was married. He also said that I should never tell anyone else for fear that his family would be killed by the Romans. I kept his word, and that is why you see that there are never any writings in the Gospels about his married life. It was a well-kept secret.
Was there anything else that he told you that he also told you not to tell the other disciples?
He tried to tell me that he was actually God, but I found that very hard to comprehend. It was not until after the resurrection that I think I truly understood just who he really was. He felt that it was better not to let any of the other members of the disciples know just who he really was. And I must admit, I had doubts of it myself.
Yeah. What was your role as an apostle?
My role, I became spokesman for the group. When we would meet with others, I would be the one that would often speak. I would try to introduce my Lord and tell others about him. But I eventually became, I guess you would call me, the leader of the group.
Okay. What do you consider your greatest accomplishment as a disciple?
I think my greatest accomplishment was telling others about the love of our God. I tried my best to bring the words of our Lord to as many as possible. I did attempt to organize others, and it is at attempt at organization of those that believed in God that I believe became the foundation for the church. I think laying that foundation would probably be my greatest accomplishment.
Okay. What do you consider the greatest miracle that you watched Jesus perform?
I watched him perform many, but raising individuals from the grave was his greatest miracle. You're all familiar with Lazarus, but he actually did raise other people from the dead as well. Sadly, those miracles have been lost to history.
Did you have the ability to perform miracles?
I had the ability to heal others. After our Lord left us, and I attempted to bring his words to others, I did perform healing miracles, just as you will be able to perform miracles as you extend your reach in bringing his words to others.
Okay. Did Jesus tell you that you would renounce him?
Yes. When he told me that, I couldn't believe it because I never felt in my heart that I would ever renounce our Lord. However, fear for my personal safety took over after he was arrested, and sadly there were instances where I did not admit that I knew our Lord. I regret that. That is one of my greatest regrets of my lifetime.
Yeah. Were you present when Jesus walked on water?
Jesus never was able to walk on water. He tried, but it was something that he failed. We told the story like he did, and the writers of the Gospels magnified that story into the future. But no, he never walked on water, nor could I or anyone else.
Did you try to walk on water?
Yes, I actually did, but all I did was get very wet.
Did you ever go to the city of Rome?
No, I never visited Rome. The Catholic Church likes to think that I had visited the city, but I actually never traveled to that city.
What did Jesus tell you of reincarnation?
He told us that we had served him many lifetimes before, and that we would serve him many lifetimes in the future. It was a very difficult concept for us at the time, because all we could conceive of was living and dying. He told us that the soul progresses through multiple lifetimes. It was not something we could tell the people, because if it was too complicated for us to understand, there was no way that the common person would ever understand what he was telling us. But yes, he tried to explain reincarnation. We never really understood it till we got back over here and could see the miracle and how it helps the soul progress.
Yeah. Did Jesus tell you that he was nearing the end of his life?
Yes, as we came into those final days, he warned us that he would be leaving, and that we would have to carry on without him. When he told us that, it broke our hearts, and we sobbed for him. But he told us to have faith, that we would be joining him in heaven at some future time, and that this was his plan, and this is what he had to do.
Will you describe the last night on the Mount of Olives?
We were all together on the mount. There were many of us there, probably close to 50. He gave us a very simple blessing and told he told all in the crowd that he would be leaving, but that he was going to be joining, that he would be in heaven, and he would welcome us when we came to join him. Not to fear that he was leaving, but to carry on his words, that his words were going to change the world, and we were the ones that were responsible for carrying them to others.
Yeah. How did you react when the Romans and the Pharisees arrived on that final evening?
I wanted to protect our Lord. He told me not to. I actually cut off the ear of one of the servants that were with him. He performed a miracle and restored the ear to the individual. I wanted to fight, but he was a man of peace, and he would not let me do it.
Why did you not attend the crucifixion?
I'm sorry to say that I feared for my life. At that time, we knew that the Romans were asking who was associated with Jesus, and we knew that we could suffer a similar fate. It was a combination of fear and knowing that someone had to carry on his words after he left us.
Yeah. What was it like to know Jesus?
To know Jesus was to know pure love. I cannot really describe the wonderful feeling that we had when we were with him. I can tell you that when I am with him over here, the feeling is just as genuine as it was on earth. No one can ever comprehend the feeling of being with our Lord until you have done it. It is beyond anyone's comprehension, especially humans on the other side. You may be able to understand it better when you come home and join us again.
What did you think when you visited the tomb after the crucifixion?
I thought that someone had stolen the body of our Lord. I did not fully comprehend what was taking place.
How many times did he appear to you after the resurrection?
After our Lord was crucified, I saw him on 3 different occasions. He would come to us, and he would reassure us that his spirit was still with us. He told us that we needed to carry out his words, and he assured us that whatever happened, we would all be with him again in heaven. But yes, I saw him on 3 different occasions.
Yeah. How old were you when you passed?
When I was passed, I was in my early 60s.
Will you tell us about your death?
Actually, I became ill and died a natural death. The individuals that were with me wanted it to look like I had been martyred, but I was not. The Romans did not kill me. I had been placed in jail and released, but I was never martyred as the rest of my companions were.
So what happened to your body?
My body was actually buried with the body of those that had been martyred. As I said, the other disciples wanted, and my followers wanted to appear as though the Romans had killed me as they had killed our Lord.
Yeah. Why was your gospel, the Gospel of Peter, not included in the Bible?
In many ways, my gospel repeated those of what was in Matthew, Mark, and Luke's. My gospel was also not in complete format at the time that Constantine called the bishops together at Nicaea. There were some things in my gospel that contradicted the wording of the others, and the decision was made that it would not be included.
Okay. What do you consider the most important message from your gospel?
The most important message from my gospel is that our Lord passed with dignity, and he passed in silence. The others wrote that he spoke words when he passed. That was not true from what Mary told me. I was not there, so I had to rely on what the 2 Marys told of how our Lord's final moments came to him. They assured me that he died with dignity, and that is what I put into my gospel.
Yeah. What do you consider the most important distortion of your gospel?
Well, I think there are multiple distortions that took place through the years in my gospel. I think the fact that how he passed was changed is the biggest thing.
Okay. Were you the first pope of the Catholic Church?
No. In those days, there was no such thing as a Catholic Church. We were laying the foundation for organized religions, but we did not go by any name. The Catholic Church wanted the world to think that I was the first pope or bishop for their organization. They felt that if they used my name, it would help bring followers and make them become members of their religion. But there was really no basis for me being thought of as the first pope of the Catholic Church. I know today they even refer to it that they are the Church of Peter. I appreciate that they use my name, but there is really no basis for what they say.
What is your opinion of the Catholic Church today?
We are very saddened by what the church has become. We watched as they were doing the atrocities with the young. Hopefully there will be a time that that it is understood that such things will destroy the church. The people of the Catholic Church are wonderful people. Sadly, it is the leaders that have become more interested in power and wealth, and in many ways try to create an environment where that wealth is preserved. There will be a time that the people will understand what is taking place and demand that the church rebuilds in the basic teachings of our Lord.
So what is your opinion of the current Pope?
There are things that the Pope does that are in line with the teachings of our Lord, and there are many things that he does that are not. Sadly, we see that he is influenced by the powerful people of the world. What you refer to as the New World Order does have an influence on the things that he preaches and the things that he says. There will be a time soon that he will no longer be Pope.
Yes. What do you think when you watch what's taking place in our modern culture?
There are many things in our modern culture that makes us sad. For one thing, we see the rampant abortions of the innocent. There is no way that you can call yourself a Christian and preach that it is okay to kill the young in the womb. Another thing that we see is people walking away from organized religions. While there are many things that organized religions do that are not accurate, they do help maintain a family structure. It is the loss of this family structure that can become the downfall of your evolution. Families need to exist together to teach the young and to advance. So there are many things that need to be addressed, but we are trying to influence, and hopefully humans will listen.
Do you have a final message for us?
Yes, once again, I'm going to thank you for allowing me to come through and for allowing my words to become public once more. When I walked the earth, we faced many hardships. There were many that tried to endanger the future of the word of our future as we attempted to carry out the words of our Lord. Today there are many that are trying to destroy religion and are trying to drive it from communities as well. Keep in mind that God influenced the founding of your country. Keep in mind that your system of government comes as close to his teachings as any government that has ever existed. For you to follow any other teachings will be to destroy your government. Keep in mind that those that speak of socialism and communism are trying to destroy you. Keep your faith true to God. Understand his teachings of love. Try to carry that love on to others. Speak of him and do not fear that others will ridicule you. We were ridiculed when we spoke his words as well. It is not an easy path, but if you persevere, you can have effect. You can have a good effect. You now have access to his true teachings and words. Know that the writings that we have had Barry carry out are his true words and reflect his true commands. Learn what he is teaching and follow those words, and all will be well. With those comments, I'm going to leave you tonight thank you once again. God bless all of you. I know that God watches over and that the will of God will prevail. With that, I'm going to say good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. That was, once again, we've been with you many times, and it's always very stimulating for us. So with those messages, I'm going to say good night. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel. We will have many more messages for you.
God bless you all.